Alright, let's see what's inside. So that's my foot controller that came with the machine. That's the welder itself. It's a 200 amp AC/DC TIG. It has pulse control, high frequency, all that good stuff. Let's see if we can get into it.
New welder smell. Smells good. Unbox the foot pedal that comes with it as well.
There's instructions to push your foot on a foot pedal. You'd think someone would know how to do that, but oh, she's a beast. Look at the size of this thing. It's massive. Preset max current. Huh. So you can actually change the current on the foot pedal. That's interesting. Okay, aside from that, oh yeah, good spring. Maybe even a little bit too tight, but I imagine that'll soften up. It'll just have a potentiometer of some description in there to, you know, apply more current or less current. And a whole big tangle of wires. So this comes with a 15 amp plug. So in Australia, most of our domestic sockets are 10 amps and 240 volts, and they have a smaller earth pin. So the only difference from this plug to a normal domestic socket is the size of this earth pin. What some people do is grind down this pin and then just use your normal domestic socket, which I'm not going to recommend. I'm just saying that some people do that. Luckily for me, I actually have a 15 amp dedicated outlets. So you can see here I've got these two cables disconnected. So one of these goes to the torch if you want to use the button on the TIG torch itself, and then you can use that button will do your 2T or 4T. So push the button and it stays on, or hold the button to keep it on. That's what that one's for. So if you're using arc start on the torch, this one here is to do arc start on the foot pedal. And then this one here, which is the second cable on the foot pedal, if you plug that in, your amperage, your current control, uses this dial. So if you have this plugged in, then your current readout on the welder won't show a value because you're setting it on the dial on the foot pedal. Some people might want that. Personally, I don't. So I've unplugged it. I've left those two unplugged and just zippy tied them to each other. I'll trim up the cables soon. Yeah, because I'd prefer to have a readout here to set my peak amps. I just find that more logical personally. And yeah, that's that bit. So I'll just do a quick little rundown of what all of the buttons and dials do and how it's plugged in. So torch goes to the negative lead, gas goes to gas obviously, this goes to your foot pedal. As I said before, if you want to do your amp amp control on your foot pedal, you plug in this one as well, and the positive lead goes to the earth clamp. Then we have the on button, which obviously turns it on. It's not really focusing very well. There you go, I've got it set at 116 amps. So pre-flow is the amount of gas that comes out of the torch before the arc starts. So this is in seconds. I assume that's what S means anyway, so 0 to 1. Peak current, so this changes your amps. And so peak current, if you're using a foot pedal, or if you're doing pulse, the peak current is the top end of the current, obviously. And then base current, so if you're doing pulse welding, the base current is the current it switches to, so it goes hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and this is a percentage dial, so 20% to 90% of the peak current that you set. Downslope, so I'm using a foot pedal, but again, downslope's the amount of time it takes for the arc to finish, essentially. So the arc slowly tapers down and then stops. So that's how you can set that. That's in seconds as well. Arc force, so the kind of strength of the arc, whether it's a penetrating arc or a soft surface arc. Frequency, so the amount of times per second that it pulses. So higher, it pulses more often. Lower, it pulses less often. Doesn't go down quite as low as I'd like, if I'm being honest, but it does work. Pulse width, so that's the amount of time, the percentage of time that it stays at peak current, if that makes sense. Clearance, so that's more for AC welding if you're doing aluminium. So this is the percentage of positive current, because AC is switching between positive and negative. So the percentage of positive current that you're applying to the tungsten. So less is less and more is more. So if you were trying to ball a tungsten, for example, you'd have it up a bit higher, ball your tungsten, then turn it down a bit. Yeah. Post flow is the same as pre-flow. It's just at the end of the arc, after your downslope finishes, how long the gas continues to run. And then we have AC/DC, fairly self-explanatory. We have straight current and pulse, so you're changing between. We have TIG and stick, that's going to stay in TIG for me pretty much all the time. And we have 2T and 4T, so that's if you push the button on your TIG torch. If you've got it selected to 2T, while you hold the button down, the torch will be running. If you switch it to 4T, you push the button, let your finger off the button, the torch will continue running until you push the button again. So hopefully that explains those. I'm not going to tell you how to weld. There's plenty of brilliant videos out there if you want to watch someone else, but that gives you a rundown of this specific machine and what all the dials do. Cheers.